Poetry is not only dream and vision, it is the skeleton architecture of our lives. It lays the foundations for a future of change, a bridge across our fears of what has never been before. There are no new ideas. There are only new ways of making them felt. We have to consciously study how to be tender with each other until it becomes a habit, because what was native has been stolen from us, the love of Black women for each other. The learning process is something you can incite, literally incite, like a riot. Art is not living. It is the use of living. The failure of academic feminists to recognize difference as a crucial strength is a failure to reach beyond the first patriarchal lesson. In our world, divide and conquer must become define and empower. The quality of light by which we scrutinize our lives has direct bearing upon the product which we live and upon the changes which we hope to bring about through those lives. It's possible to take that as a personal metaphor and then multiply it to a people, a race, a sex, a time. If we can keep this thing going long enough, if we can survive and teach what we know, we'll make it. In discussions around the hiring and firing of Black faculty of universities, the charge is frequently heard that Black women are more easily hired than are Black men. Black women sharing close ties with each other, politically or emotionally, are not the enemies of Black men. Black writers, of whatever quality, who step outside the pale of what Black writers are supposed to write about, or who Black writers are supposed to be, are condemned to silences in Black literary circles that are as total and as destructive as any imposed by racism. The 60s were characterized by a heady belief in instantaneous solutions. In other words, I would be giving into a myth of sameness which I think can destroy us. Our visions begin with our desires. Only by learning to live in harmony with your contradictions can you keep it all afloat. In our work and in our living, we must recognize that difference is a reason for celebration and growth, rather than a reason for destruction. I write for those women who do not speak, for those who do not have a voice because they were so terrified, because we are taught to respect fear more than ourselves. We've been taught that silence would save us, but it won't. Achievement of your happiness is the only moral purpose of your life, and that happiness, not pain or mindless self-indulgence, is the proof of your moral integrity, since it is the proof and the result of your loyalty to the achievement of your values. The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me. Reason is not automatic. Those who deny it cannot be conquered by it. Do not count on them. Leave them alone. The smallest minority on earth is the individual. Those who deny individual rights cannot claim to be defenders of minorities. Contradictions do not exist. Whenever you think you are facing a contradiction, check your premises. You will find that one of them is wrong. Individual rights are not subject to a public vote. A majority has no right to vote away the rights of a minority. The political function of rights is precisely to protect minorities from oppression by majorities, and the smallest minority on earth is the individual. Every man builds his world in his own image. He has the power to choose, but no power to escape the necessity of choice. The worst guilt is to accept an unearned guilt. There are two sides to every issue. One side is right and the other is wrong, but the middle is always evil. I don't build in order to have clients. I have clients in order to build. Government help to business is just as disastrous as government persecution. The only way a government can be of service to national prosperity is by keeping its hands off. When I die, I hope to go to heaven, whatever the hell that is. Only the man who does not need it is fit to inherit wealth, the man who'd make his fortune no matter where he started. A desire presupposes the possibility of action to achieve it. Action presupposes a goal that is worth achieving. To arrive at a contradiction is to confess an error in one's thinking. To maintain a contradiction is to abdicate one's mind and to evict oneself from the realm of reality. Once you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the truth. I consider that a man's brain originally is like a little empty attic, and you have to stock it with such furniture as you choose. When a doctor does go wrong, he is the first of criminals. He has nerve and he has knowledge. Any truth is better than indefinite doubt. London, that great cesspool into which all the loungers and idlers of the empire are irresistibly drained. Our ideas must be as broad as nature if they are to interpret nature. We can't command our love, but we can our actions. There is nothing more unaesthetic than a policeman. I have frequently gained my first real insight into the character of parents by studying their children. Mediocrity knows nothing higher than itself, but talent instantly recognizes genius. There is nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact. Of all ghosts, the ghosts of our old loves are the worst. A wise person decides slowly, but abides by these decisions. I have tried to keep on with my striving, because this is the only hope I have of ever achieving anything worthwhile and lasting. I may not be walking with you all the way, or even much of the way, as I walk with you now. We must believe in the power of education. We must respect just laws. We must love ourselves, our old and our young, our women as well as our men. One important key to success is self-confidence. An important key to self-confidence is preparation. From what we get, we can make a living. What we give, however, makes a life. You've got to get to the stage in life where going for it is more important than winning or losing. We must reach out our hand in friendship and dignity, both to those who would befriend us and those who would be our enemy. There is a syndrome in sports called paralysis by analysis. I have always drawn strength from being close to home. When bright young minds can't afford college, America pays the price. I guess I started too early because I just thought it was something fun to do. If I were to say, God, why me? About the bad things, then I should have said, God, why me? About the good things that happened in my life. Clothes and manners do not make the man, but when he is made, they greatly improve his appearance. You learn about equality in history and civics, but you find out life is not really like that. I accepted the face that as much as I want to lead others and love to be around other people, in some essential way, I am something of a loner. Do not feel sorry for me if I am gone. Later, I discovered there was a lot of work to being good in tennis. If I didn't define myself for myself, I would be crunched into other people's fantasies, for me and eaten alive. It is not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences. Life is very short, and what we have to do must be done in the now. When we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed. But when we are silent, we are still afraid. So it is better to speak. When I use my strength in the service of my vision, it makes no difference whether or not I am afraid. The master's tools will never dismantle a master's house. I have come to believe over and over again that what is most important to me must be spoken, made verbal and shared, even at the risk of having it bruised or misunderstood. Your silence will not protect you. There's always someone asking you to underline one piece of yourself, whether it's black, woman, mother, dyke, teacher, etc., because that's the piece that they need to key into. Attend me, hold me in your muscular flowering arms, protect me from throwing any part of myself away. Black women are programmed to define ourselves within this male attention and to compete with each other for it, rather than to recognize and move upon our common interests. But on the other hand, I get bored with racism too and recognize that there are still many things to be said about a black person and a white person loving each other in a racist society. When we create out of our experiences, as feminists of color, women of color, we have to develop those structures that will present and circulate our culture. But the question is a matter of the survival and the teaching. That's what our work comes down to. No matter where we key into it, it's the same work, just different pieces of ourselves doing it. You know how fighting fish do it. They'd blow bubbles, and in each one of those bubbles is an egg, and they float the egg up to the surface. They keep this whole heavy nest of eggs floating, and they're constantly repairing it. It's as if they live in both elements. I remember how being young and black and gay and lonely felt. A lot of it was fine, feeling I had the truth and the light and the key, but a lot of it was purely hell. The sharing of joy, whether physical, emotional, psychic, or intellectual, forms a bridge between the sharers, which can be the basis for understanding much of what is not shared between them, and lessens the threat of their difference. Each time you love, love as deeply as if it were forever. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I'm afraid.
Barbecue may not be the road to world peace, but it's a start. What nicer thing can you do for somebody than make them breakfast? Every chef I know, their cholesterol is through the roof. And mine's not so great. Context and memory play powerful roles in all the truly great meals in one's life. Sometimes the greatest meals on vacations are the ones you find when Plan A falls through. You learn a lot about someone when you share a meal together. Anyone who's a chef, who loves food, ultimately knows that all that matters is it good? Does it give pleasure? The Congo was the most difficult shoot of my life, but was also maybe the greatest adventure of my life. One of life's terrible truths is that women like guys who seem to know what they're doing. Since the very beginning, Emerald's had a sense of humor about me calling him names and poking fun at him. I learned a long time ago that trying to micromanage the perfect vacation is always a disaster. That leads to terrible times. If anything is good for pounding humility into you permanently, it's the restaurant business. I feel that if Jacques Pepin shows you how to make an omelette, the matter is pretty much settled. That's God talking. The worst, most dangerous person to America is clearly Paula Deen. My house is run, essentially, by an adopted, fully clawed cat with a mean nature. I love the masochistic aspect of eating seething, real Sichuan food in Sichuan province. I wasn't that great a chef, and I don't think I'm that great a writer. I could do one show after another in China for the rest of my life and still die ignorant. There's a lot of places left to go. I'm not afraid to look like an idiot. I'm never a reliable narrator, unbiased or objective. I don't snack. I don't generally eat sweets or drink soda. I never eat between meals or even before big ones. I wish I could play bass like Larry Graham or Bootsy Collins. My God, I give up just about everything else for that. Is there a sharper commentary on American culture and the world than The Simpsons? I'm a decent cook. I'm a decent chef. None of my friends would ever have hired me at any point in my career. Period. You know, from age 17 on, my paycheck was coming from cooking and working in kitchens. I make friends faster and easier than journalists. I could do one show after another in China for the rest of my life and still die ignorant. There's a lot of places left to go. If you get an opportunity to work with David Simon, anybody with good taste would. I like the fact that Melbourne always seems to support their chefs and promote them in ways I find really admirable. I love New York. I'm a guy for whom a New York accent is a comforting thing. I could do nothing but Brooklyn shows for the rest of my career, and I could die ignorant. In too much of the West, everyone wants the guarantee of safety, and never having to make any decisions. I, personally, think there is a really danger of taking food too seriously. Food should be part of the bigger picture. I'm not looking to freak people out eating rodents or bugs. I don't do that anymore. If somebody crafts an interesting tweet that'll lead me to their blog, I'm going to their blog. It would be an egregious mistake to ever refer to me in the same breath as most of the people I write about. I'm really good at sleeping on planes. I mean, I smell jet fuel and I'm out. I'm asleep for takeoff. I'm evangelical on the subject of some chefs and writers. I just do the best I can and write something interesting, to tell stories in an interesting way and move forward from there. I'm a control freak. If you're going to slap my name on something, I would like to control it. I do my very best to avoid shark fin. I can unload my opinion on anybody at any time. People's choice to become vegan, from people I've spoken to, seems motivated by fear. Don't reinvent the wheel, just realign it. Never stop learning, knowledge doubles every 14 months. Become addicted to constant and never-ending self-improvement. Set high standards and few limitations for yourself. The only real failure in life is one not learned from. You don't have to hold a position in order to be a leader. You can learn a lot from people who view the world differently than you do. Promise a lot and give even more. Develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow. Without a sense of caring, there can be no sense of community. Treasure your relationships, not your possessions. Don't fear change, embrace it. If you have time to whine and complain about something, then you have the time to do something about it. Focus 90% of your time on solutions and only 10% of your time on problems. If you believe that discrimination exists, it will. Always be nice to secretaries. They are the real gatekeepers in the world. The people who oppose your ideas are inevitably those who represent the established order that your ideas will upset. If you have a vision, do something with it. In order to succeed, you must fail, so that you know what not to do the next time. When solving problems, dig at the roots instead of just hacking at the leaves. The greatest gift that you can give yourself is a little bit of your own attention. Listen to your intuition. It will tell you everything you need to know. Have a strong mind and a soft heart. Become a student of change. It is the only thing that will remain constant. Know people for who they are rather than for what they are. Transcend political correctness and strive for human righteousness. Become a fixer, not just a fixture. When you're young, try to be realistic. As you get older, become idealistic. You'll live longer. Reality doesn't bite, rather our perception of reality bites. You must first get along with yourself before you can get along with others. Smile, it is the key that fits the lock of everybody's heart. The most important things in life aren't things. In your thirst for knowledge, be sure not to drown in all the information. Never let your persistence and passion turn into stubbornness and ignorance. Promise yourself to live your life as a revolution and not just a process of evolution. Run to meet the future or it's going to run you down. If life doesn't offer a game worth playing, then invent a new one. Build your reputation by helping other people build theirs. Learn not only to find what you like, learn to like what you find. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye. The meaning of things lies not in the things themselves, but in our attitude towards them. War is not an adventure. It is a disease. It is like typhus. The machine does not isolate man from the great problems of nature, but plunges him more deeply into them. Only the unknown frightens man. But once a man has faced the unknown, that terror becomes the known. Love does not consist in gazing at each other, but in looking outward together in the same direction. Perfection is achieved, not when there is nothing more to add, but when there is nothing left to take away. What makes the desert beautiful is that somewhere it hides a well. To be a man is, precisely, to be responsible. When you give yourself, you receive more than you give. Of what worth are convictions that bring not suffering? True happiness comes from the joy of deeds well done, the zest of creating things new. He who is gone, so we but cherish his memory, abides with us, more potent, nay, more present than the living man. I know but one freedom, and that is the freedom of the mind. Tell me who admires and loves you, and I will tell you who you are. Whoever loves above all the approach of love will never know the joy of attaining it. The aeroplane has unveiled for us the true face of the earth. Once men are caught up in an event, they cease to be afraid. Only the unknown frightens man. A chief is a man who assumes responsibility. He says, "I was beaten." He does not say, "My men were beaten." One can be a brother only in something. Where there is no tie that binds men, men are not united, but merely lined up. A civilization is built on what is required of men, not on that which is provided for them. The time for action is now. It's never too late to do something. You become responsible, forever, for what you have tamed. What saves a man is to take a step. Then another step. It is always the same step, but you have to take it. The one thing that matters is the effort. It is such a secret place, the land of tears. The notion of looking on at life has always been hateful to me. What am I if I am not a participant? In order to be, I must participate.